Okay, good morning. For those of you who have joined us this morning, the class is being recorded and is available online after the class as well. If anyone wants to say something and doesn't want it recorded, please let us know and we'll turn it off. I would like to dedicate this morning's class to Robert Steppi, who is unfortunately in the hospital and sedated and not doing well. Who is he? We know him. I know him.
He's a very nice gentleman.
Aneurysm? Aneurysm it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, yes.
Oh, really?
It's
Just when was it? Last week or so?
He had it Thursday or Friday morning, I think, or something. He had it a year ago and it was okay. Now it's bad, and the family is very concerned, and so are we.
Right.
Yeah.
Very nice person.
Yeah. Okay. Question. Question. So did anyone do the homework of 2 weeks ago that was given 2 weeks ago at the class? Does anyone remember what homework was given 2 weeks ago at the class?
Yes, trying to recall and remember
yes.
what you spoke about without impacting with your own thoughts.
Right.
Yes.
Did you do the homework?
Yes, I did.
Oh, wow, I'm impressed. First of all, I'm impressed. So you're already on the way there. You're already on the highway. Good for you.
I was on the highway too.
Yes, I'm sure.
I did it.
I did it for a week
So-
and I got used to it.
So, put the recorder next to Ben and tell us, describe to us a little bit your experience, what you did, and then either I'll tell you did the right thing, or I'll tell you did the right thing, but not really.
But not really. I attempted to recall, which I don't know if I can anymore, exactly what was said 2 weeks ago, point by point, without any other thoughts, other than exactly what was said, exactly how it was expressed. I'm sure my interpretation clouded everything, but that was my effort.
And how long did you spend on it? Not how many times, but how long?
I did it, honestly, one time. I probably spent about 10 minutes.
And
At most.
And what happened during those 10 minutes? Were you able to actually recall what was taught, or were you struggling to recall and trying to recall what was taught?
Interesting you asked. I could recall what was said at the time. I went out of my way while I was recalling not to let any thoughts come in to influence it. Just say out loud. I said it out loud. What was said in class.
So you were, okay, so now
was
you're saying
driving.
something else. So you were actually verbalizing.
I did. I verbalized
Not
it.
in your mind, but you were verbalizing.
I did.
Okay. And you had what to say for 10 minutes?
Like I said, at most. Probably closer to 5.
Okay. That's impressive.
So,
So the mark you're getting on your homework is you did very well, but not well enough.
I always do better.
Okay. Anyone else? And soon I'll explain what we're doing here. Anyone else? Oh, let me explain now. We learned 2 weeks ago about the importance of connecting with the concept that we learned, and the concept that we learned. Thank you. And the reconnecting with it in a way of not trying to make sense of the class that we had, but to actually remember the class without my intervention, without my input. Oh, I think the rabbi was right, I think the rabbi was wrong, I understood, I didn't understand, it makes sense, it doesn't make sense, I feel like it, I don't feel like it. Without my input into it, just recollecting what was done in the class for 3 minutes or 5 minutes without interrupting our mind. The homework that was given was to do it in our mind, in our faculty of thought, not verbalizing. But Ben did it verbalizing, which is a good start. It's anything that is done is good. That's why everyone gets a plus for doing the homework and for doing it. But it's only a step towards getting to where we need to get. Anyone else? Yes.
Honestly, I don't recall if this concept came from our class or from the shir with the Zalmi. The idea that when you're saying the Shema, I had this idea of looking at Hashem as being all-encompassing. Was it yourself? Or maybe it was only something?
Maybe it was both.
Could have been both. So every time I say Shema now, I have that notion in my head that it's almost overwhelming.
Okay. Why is it overwhelming?
Well, not you. I sit there and I daven and I come to the Shema and I say the words, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord God is one." And that's nice, and I move on and carry on with the prayer. But now it's like I'm really looking at Hashem as being everything and then nothing and everything and nothing and us being nothing and everything joining together, and it's like that's the impact.
Okay.
my
So
head,
you
not
get
in
the
your
exact same mark as Ben.
B minus.
What? Why? No, on the contrary. You did very well. Not well enough. Okay, very good. Next. Anyone else? Did you do the homework?
Yes, I was discussing the homework with you actually.
No. You won't get the same mark. I'm not talking about discussing with someone else. I'm not talking about discussing with me. I'm talking about internalizing it. So the two that we had up until now, one internalized it by verbalizing it, and one internalizing it somehow by when saying the Shema. Very good.
I had a hard
Discussing it with someone else.
No, I had a hard time with it because I could not keep a straight thought. And like every time I tried to do the exercise, right away other thoughts came into place in terms of trying to put the exercise into the context of doing the exercise. I'll be specific. Similar to Israel, every day when we do the davening, when the Shema came about, at that point I tried to, that was my anchor. But every time I started doing that process, I felt hurried to get out of that moment. And that was the conflict that disturbed my thoughts. So I understand the concept that I'm trying to be non-judgmental and to draw the information out so I can, if you will, bathe in it and absorb it and without any kind of reservation. And yet, time and again, I failed. So,
Yeah. So you get the mark of the best. So far you won because you actually tried to do the exercise with your machashava, with your faculty of thought, not verbalizing it and not when saying the Shema, which is good also, very good. But you actually tried you made an effort in working on it, and you had trouble, which is it was challenging, which is very normal. Now I know that you are a normal person. Because last week, if you remember, 2 weeks ago, you argued that it's easy. You started arguing that it's easy before you understood the concept, and I kept on saying it's impossible. Now, yes.
I actually did do the exercise, for 14 hours
40,
straight.
40 hours?
14.
14
An hour a
hours?
day. There's only one problem. I missed that class, so I didn't know the exercise.
So what did you do for the 1 hour
Garnished.
a
I
day?
didn't know the exercise.
But what did you do? You said you did something. I want to know what you did during that hour.
I learned Tanya.
Okay, so here is the thing. When we were in yeshiva at the age of 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, during those years, the teenage, the schedule, the daily schedule of yeshiva was the following. 7:30 in the morning, we start what we call Seder. We start learning for an hour and a half Hasidic teachings, so Tanya, discourses, whatever it is, Hasidus, for an hour and a half. 9 till 9:30 is a break of coffee, have a drink. Those who didn't make it to mikveh before, go to mikveh at that time. And putting on the film, getting ready for morning prayers, which begin at 9:30. 9:30 is when the Chazan begins, Hoidu Sheibane Beis Hamikdash, and we begin davening. So we have half hour between 9 and 9:30. We were encouraged by our mentors, by the rabbis, by the leaders of the yeshiva, by our teachers, to put on the film about 9:15, 9:20, 9:25, not at 9:30, but to be already with the film at Hodu, ready to start davening before prayers, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes earlier, and during those 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is, a few moments, to close our eyes, literally, to close our eyes, and to recall in our mind, without talking to anyone, about what we learned in the hour and a half. Or something else that we learned 3 years ago, but without interruption. It's the most difficult exercise for a person to do. In my opinion, as challenging as it is to exercise every day and to be disciplined on it, that's much, much more difficult. Why? Because of the challenge that Avi spoke about. That the machashava that are taught should be able to continuously think about the same subject without interruption of something else coming to mind takes a lot of discipline. Why am I saying it takes a lot of discipline? There is a halacha, a law that says that when we pray, prayer is not enough with our eyes to read from the book, read the prayers, but we actually need to verbalize the words. We need to actually say them. Not only do we need to actually verbalize the words of prayers, but we need to say them out loud. So I have a choice of saying, the louder the better. However, there is a halacha that says, don't disturb someone else during prayers. So say it loud, sorry?
Isn't there also a Gemara saying you don't think Hashem can hear? So not too loud.
Not too loud. I know, but it also says, Tzoak libam el Hashem. That there is also the yelling and the screaming and so on. Yes, not too loud, but the point is that a person is obligated, it says, to allow himself to hear what he is verbalizing. So, there are people who are hard in hearing. They need to say louder the words of prayers in order for them to be able to hear themselves. What's the reason for it? The reason for it, it says, is kol me'orer hakavana. Sound awakens the intent. We are here 10, 12 people around this table. For whom it's easier to concentrate on the class? All of you here or me?
You.
Me. Why? Because I'm talking. You are listening. Much more challenging to listen than to talk. That's reality. And that's even when it's being fed. I'm feeding you. Nonetheless, the book, the prayer book, is feeding us. It's telling us what to read. But very, very hard to concentrate. So the more we verbalize and we say it loud, the more it awakens attention, and in turn it awakens emotions. When a person speaks calmly, it's one way of speaking. When a person is angry and speaks loud and it gets louder and louder and louder, what happens? The emotions are getting louder and louder and louder. Because kol means voice, me'orer awakens the kavanah, the attention and the involvement. So the exercise of verbalizing, of repeating the class that we learned an hour ago is very good, because it works on our memory, and it's a good step. But that's still not that. In the context of what we learned in chapter 3, what we're learning in chapter 3, the comparison of a father and a mother and uniting, I would say it's the Sheva Broches, the 7 blessings under the chuppah, or the statement Harei at mekudeshet li, you are giving the ring under the chuppah and getting married. It's a very good marriage, and they are married legally, and Mazel Tov, and there is a beautiful event of the marriage, but no kids will be born out of that marriage. The only way there will be children is when there will be the da'at, the unification of the husband and the wife, of the bride and the groom, in order to give birth to children. So remembering the class by repeating it, by verbalizing, is very good, and it's a step in the right direction. But it's the chuppah. It's a marriage that is on the surface. The yichud, the union, the giving birth to fruits, bringing fruits to the world, is only by internalizing what was studied by our faculty of thought. And that's the most challenging one. Almost impossible for someone to keep one's thought for more than a minute. And even that's very challenging. And I'm not saying about 1 minute reading. Even that's not easy, unless it's very attractive. But closing the eyes without a book, not allowing any estranged thoughts to come in, and estranged thoughts means not necessarily something that is not connected. No, a strange thought means it's very connected, but it's my input, but it's not what the Alter Rebbe is teaching me in Tanya, but it's my input, it's strange. And it doesn't belong here now. Uniting with what it says in the Torah, to what the book has taught me, to what the class has taught me. very, very difficult to do. At the same time, very, very important. Now let me add another thought of how important it is, especially in our days, in our modern days. It says in Hayom Yom, the calendar that the Rebbe has written in 1943 with a thought for every day, and I think we went over it. I think it was one a couple weeks ago. About, if I remember correctly, the Rebbe is saying that it's very important to memorize words of Mishnah, words of Tanya, words of the Torah, to have them in our memory, so one should be able to think about them when walking in the street, and the Rebbe says when being on the subway, on the sea train. The Rebbe quotes the subway the Rebbe speaks about. You know, but basically when one is in transit, when one cannot take out a book and do it. So someone asked me, and it's very important, and the Rebbe speaks about there that it's not, the emphasis there is not so much about oneself, but about how important it is to purify the air. That what is being taught, what is the faculty of thought that is filling the subway, the air where we are, should be pure, should have words of Torah and so on. Someone asked me a few years ago, why do we need, it was a comment when we read the Yom Yom, what's the point? Why do we need today to memorize? Today we have walking memories, wireless memories in our pocket, in a little phone. All you need to do is have there either a wired earphones or Bluetooth, and you walk in the street and you hear words of Torah, you hear classes, you listen to classes. Very, 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 very helpful. So you could purify the air with Torah, not by myself thinking, but here I have this, my life, my soul, my God, my phone. No, my Torah. I'm not talking about negative things.
You said my God.
Yeah, well, my Torah is here. It's my God. My prayers, everything is here.
Yeah.
I don't need to. My godliness, everything is here. Why do I need to memorize? On the contrary, because everything is in the palm of our hand and so easily reachable, so it's a very good thing. On the other hand, the problem is that everything is very superficial in our days. As the famous saying, and as we all know, what was news a minute ago is old news. Every minute we need to come up with something new. Something more. What else is new? You know, the news of yesterday is gone. It is not active anymore. It is old-fashioned. Where yesterday? You know, and come on, what is new the last minute? Because of that everything is so transit, you know, you fly from one place to another so quickly, you know, now I'm here in an hour, I could be in Australia, you know, things are so you could be in Australia in a minute. You don't have to have an hour. All you need is quick. That's what I meant. You know, it's so what? Fleeting. Everything is very, very, and very much on the surface. Even for that reason, it's even more needed and more important to internalize some things. And if you want me to translate what I just described about the phone, take a look at what's happening in today's world in family relationships, and parents and children, jobs, and husbands and wife, and so on and so forth. Everything is changing. I'm tired of my old marriage. I'm tired of my old job. I need something new. I need something novelty. It's not. My husband is not fun anymore. My wife is not fun anymore. My parents are not fun anymore. I need to. I'm looking for a different life. Everything is so moving. You can't sit still in one place. That's today's biggest challenge in today's world. Starting from these little smart, stupid phones. and ending with marriages and everything in life. Why? Because nothing is in there. Calculators. I don't know how to, I'm the first one. 1 plus 1 is 3. I don't know that 1 plus 1 is 2. I need a calculator. I need the internet to give me answers. And everyone passes all the exams with the smartphones, with the smart calculators. Why can't we have in our own mind that 1 plus 1 is 2, and 1 minus 1 is 0? We don't have that. Everything is very much on the surface. So in today's age, in today's modern age, it's even more important to internalize things in a way that not to get distracted by what's on the surface. To start working on our mind, and not only on what we say. Not only on verbalizing things, not only on praying with the actual words, which is important. I'm not undermining prayer, and I'm not saying we should stop praying. But even more important than the prayer of actually verbalizing is the 5 minutes prior, Shema Yisrael, as we said earlier. Closing the eyes. What did I learn? What am I here? What am I doing here? That's secondary. Sorry. What did I actually learn? Not what the book taught me, but now let's bring it in me. Let me become one with that concept. Let me elaborate on this for another coming at it from another angle. I'm giving a class now, and I have two ladies sitting to my right taking notes. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And a gentleman to my left taking notes with a modern pen.
I can give an answer.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah, I'm asking. Yes.
It's distracting.
Taking notes is distracting?
It's the best thing you can do.
Well, but it's sometimes I am thinking about what I'm writing and I don't hear.
If I don't write it, I don't remember it.
So for some people, writing is better because they remember better. It's a way to remember. For some people, it's not. It depends on the person.
Jerry is right. Depends on the person. Some people have better visual memory, and they have to memorize better when they write and review the notes. Some people have better hearing memory.
May my mother rest in peace. I just all reminded me my mother. It depends. Sometimes. Yeah, very good Jewish answer.
No,
So let me give you.
What kind of memory person?
So let me give you another Jewish answer to it. For every person, generally speaking, at all times there is a good side to it and there is a bad side to it. Why? And once we'll analyze it, we will understand that it depends what it's serving. And everyone was right here. It's not a disagreement. And what Avi was saying so passionately, that it's the best thing, I agree. At the same time, it's the worst thing. And it's not a contradiction. It's best for one purpose, and it's worse for another purpose. It's best in order for me to be able to follow what is being taught. In order for my mind not to get distracted with everything that is coming to my mind, trying to get me away from what I'm hearing in the room, from what is being taught. As a result, the best solution to it is take notes. Then there is action. You can't speak at the same time the rabbi is speaking, because then you won't hear. But the good thing is, you're basically helping concentration to what the rabbi is saying, to what the teacher is teaching. Best thing. The worst thing is, I'm putting my mind in the way of being a total vessel to absorb what is being taught, and that's very bad. This is an exercise to be done later. While listening, listen. You cannot listen and speak at the same time. It's two different things. One is listening is absorbing, and speaking is pouring out, giving out. Here is a tzinor. Tzinor is, what is it called in English?
Straw.
A straw,
Pipe.
or a pipe, or a hose. Tzinor is a hose. Okay? So I want to get water here, and I don't want to get it all over the table. So I take a hose, I start here, for whatever reason, it's far, and it comes out here. What does this hose accomplish? It accomplishes concentration from the giver, from the source, to end up in a different place. Does the hose have anything left?
No.
Pirkei Avot refers to it, mashpech, machnis bezu, motzi bezu. Nothing left.
Actually,
Basically,
there's-
all it was is, what?
There's a little bit on the side.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. So all it is a conduit to go from one place to another. On its own, doesn't have anything. So sometimes I need a conduit. So I take notes from what I'm hearing in the class in order for me to be able to come back later to the class and to re-listen to what was taught during the class in order to absorb it. But during the class, if I'm busy giving, I cannot take. So it's a contradiction. We used to have it in one of the Rebbe's shluchim in Morocco, the Rebbe's emissaries in Morocco. Hashem should give him a long, good, healthy, long life. Rav Shalom Edelman taught us. He taught us Gemara, Talmud, and he was teaching something, and we jumped on him. And he used to tell us, "Rega katan, give me one small minute." In other words, don't jump with questions. Don't jump immediately with conclusions if Menachem knows what he's saying or he doesn't know what he's saying. If the teacher already knows, if the parent knows or the parent doesn't know. Do we realize what's happening with little kids, babies? It takes them years to absorb before they open up their mouth. And we think they're stupid and they don't understand. They understand very, very well. And to a certain extent, I see it now as a grandparent more than I saw it as a father, as a parent. Because now I'm absorbing a little bit. Now I'm observing a little bit with one step removed. I'm not directly involved. I'm seeing it now more and more. Little children, you see how they're taking, they're listening, they're looking at you, and you think, well, and then suddenly it comes out, and they understand, and they watch, and they watch, and they watch, and they keep on watching, and they look at little details, and until suddenly the wisdom comes out from the mouth of the babies who are 2 and 3 years old, that of everything they absorbed. 2 years absorbing before opening up a mouth. May we take 5 minutes of absorbing before opening up our minds with contradictions. 5 minutes, listen to what someone else has to tell you. To what your wife is telling you, to what your husband is telling you, to what your child is telling you, to what your husband is telling you. Listen. Shema Yisrael. Close your eyes. That's Shema Yisrael. Listen. 5 minutes of listening we can't even do. We're running from one thing to another. So taking notes is a very good thing. However, taking notes is a very bad thing. Why? Because would we be able to get to the point of being a listener without taking notes, much better. If I could actually, please take notes. If I could actually, concentrate on what my teacher is teaching me, without taking notes and memorizing it, without putting my mind in it, my own intervention, just listening, that's the ideal. If I can't, then take notes. At least to learn how to concentrate, to exercise concentration. Once the class is done, once the hour is finished, then let's go back to the notes and see what was taught in that class, and then read it once, twice, 3 times, 100 times, whatever it takes. Even 101 times, which the Talmud says is the one time that is beyond nature. That's what was taught. Now let me internalize it, and only then put in my 5 cents. Do I agree? I don't agree. I understand. I don't understand. I feel like it. I don't feel like it. Not jumping right away on conclusions. That's what da'as is. That's what knowledge is. Uniting with the concept. Very, very difficult task. Very difficult task. I shared the story with you in the past. I once asked the Mashpia, Rabbi Yaakov, Hashem should send him a good long life as well, one of the elder Hasidim today, and Mashpim is 770. So I asked him once, I told him, Shabbos morning, during the week was 7:30 and davening 9:30. Shabbos morning, learning was 8 till 9:30 and davening 10 o'clock, half hour later. So I prepare myself to daven. I learn Chassidus, I go to mikveh, and I concentrate, and I recollect, or concentrate on what was learning and everything. I'm doing it, and it's all going well. And then when I start praying, it's klei hoya. It's like disappeared. It's like never existed. I lose my concentration. I lose my interest. I don't have patience for the prayers anymore. I just the words I have to say them. My heart is not there. My mind is not there. You know what he answered me? He tells me, why does it bother you that you pray before prayers? Was dir as du davenst fahren davnen? Ma ichpat lecha she'ata mitpalel lifnei atfilah? Why does it bother you that you pray before prayers? So I told him, why, it shouldn't bother me? He says, of course it should bother you. But be happy with your accomplishments. And build on your accomplishments. For an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, Shabbos morning, you are concentrating, you are there, it's working, continue. And then work on the rest. And you'll get there. I'm still working. So the Baruch Hashem, I'm still working, I didn't give up. In other words, that those 5 minutes of concentration, of remembering, is not less important than the actual verbalizing the prayers. And this is what's going to give birth to Avo and Yireh, to love and fear of God, and controlling our emotions in all aspects. But we have to start somewhere. Yes.
Yeah. Everything we do, we have to remember that we need some crutches to help us advance. A kid that wants to learn to ride a bicycle, you don't just put on a bicycle and says, go for it. You give them some helpers. You hold it. and eventually they get the shivung of it, or the gist of it, and they go on their own and go on their way. In learning, there's something, a principle that very people talk about. It's called the art of learning.
The art?
The art of learning. Learning about learning. Nobody teaches that. There's no university course about that. I gave it a long time ago. They don't do it now. And the concept is very simple to understand our limitations and to learn that just good intentions don't lead to hell, to heaven, sometimes they lead to hell. And a good example is the taking notes. If you were to look at people trying to use the aids that we have, tape recorders, notes, memorizing, hoping, you look at the notes portion, you find that some people take very few notes and remember a lot. Some people take all the notes in the world and they don't remember it. And the question, what's going on? What really is going on is that when you take notes, what you mentioned about verbalizing and not analyzing, like not trying to inject your own opinion, if you do not inject yourself into the notes, if you do not start to write derivatives, you pay attention to what's being discussed. If you start to go into your own world, the world of the note-taking, people write essays. I've seen people at university coming out with 10, 20 pages of notes from a class, and I feel like an idiot. Only 7 sentences? Okay? You have to put, so taking notes, sometimes you say it's a good and bad, but really the element of good and bad relates to the lack of understanding how to use the crutch. And we have to be taught sometimes how to use those crutches.
Yep.
So eventually we can get rid of them.
Yep.
Right? And I think that's what I was trying to say. Notes is the best thing in the world because it's a crutch.
Yes, and we're not disagreeing. 100%. It's helping. Exactly. It's helping us. If it's helping us for concentration, it's a very good thing by all means, and it does. And as a result, we should. So going back to this smartphone that we have with us all the times, of course we should use them, and of course we should listen to classes all the times that are available, audio and video and everything, and use them as well. But not taking away from sometimes thinking ourselves. Now, let me clarify. When I'm emphasizing here that it's important to connect with what was taught without interference of oneself, that's only the first step. It's only first step. Then we do need to interfere. Then we do need to internalize and, okay, how does that apply to me? And that's not less important than the first step. But I'm emphasizing the first step because by human nature, and especially in our days today, we're very rushing to the end result. We need to get there already. You know what I keep on telling my family and people around me, when we plan a vacation and we go on vacation, you know how stressful it is to go on vacation? How stressful it is? The packing, the shopping, then the traveling, and the plane, the airport drive. If we could only decide that the trip, the vacation starts from when we book the ticket. From when we book the ticket, the vacation is starting, and the shopping is part of it, and the traveling is part of it. And don't rush into getting to the goal. We're going through here in this Chabad house, in general, and my family in particular, who are looking for a house in this area. It's a very, very challenging and difficult time. It's a year and a half that we don't have a home Shabbos. We're sleeping on mattresses, schlepping, forgetting this, forgetting that. It's not easy. And this Chabad house is not the ultimate where we want it to be. It's a very challenging thing. So we could be frustrated for the few years that it will take until Mashiach will come. Or it's part of the process. And we're very happy because we know we're starting. We're going there. We cannot rush on to the end result. If I'm, a person I'm home. I'll give you an example. I'm home now. I decide I need to go to Safeway, to Sobeys, to Superstore, to Walmart, whatever it is, to shop. I'm getting into the car. I'm driving towards the destination, and then I'm thinking, oh, but it's not where I need to go. It's too long. Let me change. Should I go there? Should I go elsewhere? Let me start reanalyzing where I'm going, where I'm not going, and what I need to buy, what I don't need to buy. Did I make the real list? Maybe I should go. You can't live a life like that. If you decided you're going to Edmonton, get on the highway and go there and be happy. If you decided to stay home, stay home. You can't go and go back and forth in analyzing. Am I happy? Am I not happy? Do I want to continue? I don't want to continue. You decided 5 minutes you're going to concentrate for 5 minutes. And don't allow other thoughts to come in there. It's very difficult, but don't allow any other thoughts to come in there. Not an easy task, but that's if we really want not a patch-up solution, not a Tylenol to our emotional challenges that we have and feelings, and we want an ultimate fix and preventive medicine, then we need to do it right, and that's where it starts. Easy? No, not easy. Can I ask you, and we're talking about closing the eyes. I want to bring out what Chassidus, what Hasidic philosophy is teaching, and how, if a person takes it serious, a person could get to it. We're talking about closing the eyes in order to concentrate, right? And that's why the halacha for Shema Yisrael is cover the eyes. The halacha says that when we say Shema Yisrael and when we daven the Amidah, and when we pray, we're not allowed to hold anything in our hands because it's a distraction. Our sages have allowed us to hold a prayer book in our hands because it's taking notes, because it's helping us with the concentration. But the reality is, no book or nothing. Total to detach oneself from anything. So I want to concentrate now. So I'm going to close my eyes, going to close my ears. And when you close your ears, there is noise that is being created inside, so you don't hear anything on the outside. Very good. Difficult? Yes. Could anyone here in this room keep your eyes open, look at someone else in the eyes, concentrate on what you want and not on what the other person facing you is bringing to your attention? Could anyone here do that? In other words, my eyes are open, I'm looking at you, you make me faces and do whatever it is, and talk to me and say whatever you want, and I'm in a different world. I'm not listening to you, but I'm listening to what my thought is. I'm in control over my thoughts.
I think mothers can.
What?
I think mothers can.
Mothers can?
Yes, sir.
Really?
How would we know?
That's the first I hear that. Mothers could do it?
Yeah, because sometimes the kids constantly talking, wanting your attention, and you are in your own world.
In that case, the husbands could do it more than the mothers, because the mothers are talking to their husbands all their lives and they're not listening. Why, you're in shock that I'm saying that?
Yeah.
Why? In front of my wife?
Because of
32 years of marriage, don't worry. We're celebrating our Baruch Hashem. You should worry. Yeah, yesterday was our anniversary, 32nd anniversary. So I'm sure. So there was a Chassid. He has a name, and I don't remember his name. Identified Chassid, who wasn't a very wise man, wasn't a very big scholar. He was sitting like this, concentrating on his things. Kids with open eyes, kids used to come around him and make faces and talk to him and do whatever, he was in a different world. He worked on himself. It wasn't by nature. He worked on his faculty of thought, on being in control, like I could control what I'm listening to or not. If you tell me something and I don't want to hear, you do something in front of my eyes I don't want to see, I close my eyes and I don't look at you, like little kids. You're not here. You don't exist.
They don't exist. They say, don't see me.
Yeah, they don't exist, right? They don't exist. The same way he was able to do, control his thought, total control without any distractions. Easy, not easy at all. Within reach, yes, within reach. Could we start doing it for an hour? No. Could we start doing it for a minute? Yes, and we need to. Now you know your homework. Now I want to get results next week. And not an hour. Just do it 2 minutes a day, and you'll see.
Only 2 minutes?
Start with 2 minutes.
You think only one thing and nothing else comes in mind. You know how now you're sitting, aren't you thinking about the 100,000 other things?
Yes.
Yes, Leah.
The whole time you think about other things.
Well, I think that little children are able to do this because I experience it with my grandson. He's concentrating on a toy or in something that he's doing. I can call his name. I can talk to him. He doesn't even hear it. He's so focused on what he does, and he's not with his eyes closed. He's just, and I have to sometimes go and sort of shake him, and I said, Nico, and he's like, just, oh, you talk to me? So I thought children are, I read that from the rabbi, are the closest thing to truth because their mind is not cluttered, it's pure, it's innocent. So our cluttering of our mind, it's hard to see the truth. And that's why when I am around my grandson, I feel I'm so much more close to truth because he just naturally shows it to me.
So that's very true. And you're right, and that's what we said earlier about mothers and about husbands and so on, because in every area there is that, but the difference is the following. By little kids, by babies, it's a natural attraction to something. As a result, nothing else exists. And that exists by each and every one of us. I'm so glued to my TV that I don't listen to anyone else talking to me. I'm so involved in my work, in whatever I do in my work, I don't hear anything. I don't hear and I don't see anything. As the world could get destroyed, I don't budge. I'm so involved with the novel I'm reading that nothing else exists. Everyone has those things that one is involved without anything, to the extent that there is a story that the Alter Rebbe was teaching. The Alter Rebbe, the author of Tanya, was learning with his son. And there was the grandson who was crying in a different room. The Alter Rebbe heard, and his son, who was the father of the child, did not hear. The Alter Rebbe tells him, "Kel yeled beicha." While you're learning, and you're learning, in a different world, learning Torah in a godly and everything, you need to have an ear for a child who is crying. And then you need to close the book and go attend to the child. And I'm saying this story that is telling us about not to get totally immersed, but to pay attention. At the same time, the lesson is also to learn for us, for adults, and to teach our children to concentrate not on what attracts you, but on what you need to concentrate, and don't let yourself be distracted. In other words, when I'll finish the class, I could give you many examples of where I'm being concentrated, and I don't hear what anyone else is telling me, and anything else that is happening in the room. Everyone has those examples. But I don't think anyone has an example of saying, I was concentrating on the hour of Tanya and was not able to get distracted. That miracle did not take place yet, and that's the challenge, that's the exercise, to spend 2 minutes on the class of Tanya and not being distracted. Never mind by someone else, but not by myself. Now, if I need to start with closing my eyes, good, let's start with that. If I need to start with rereading the notes, let's do that. If I need to start with reading how many times could you read this one piece about Das, this one paragraph here that teaches about knowledge? How many times could you read it and read it and read it and read it and not get bored of it? When you get bored of it, reread it 10 times. Then it means we're starting the homework. Now that's a step before even reaching our mind. That's still in notes. That's an actual print. That's a book. But very hard to concentrate on the same topic without getting distracted. Reread it. First verbalize and then don't verbalize. Read it in your thought without getting, what is he telling me? Not what I want to hear. It's all steps in the right direction. And steps towards starting to gain self-control. And that's the key. Controlling our emotions, controlling our feelings has to start with self-control, and this is self-control. If I cannot control my mind, my brain, my faculty of thinking, how can I control my faculty of feelings? Feelings is much more difficult than thinking.
Question. If a feeling of, let's say, anger comes, it just comes. It's not in my control, that feeling. Is this my control, what I do with it?
Yes.
Because I can't stop that feeling.
Right. You can't stop the feeling that came. Right. You can't stop anyone coming knocking on the door. But you could control opening the door or not opening the door.
Okay, so the feeling that comes is not
in your control.
What I
not
do
for now. Next week we'll No.
What I do with it is from the brain.
Yes.
Okay.
If I may say out of what Rabbi said before, husband don't listen, he always listens. He was talking to me, I don't listen. He talks to me and I'm doing 100 things. I say, I hear, then he's doing
Is anyone here a priest? What is this confession letter?
I say you were making a joke. You always listen.
No, but there's something.
No, I don't. No, I don't always listen. When I sleep, I don't listen.
Like some people think I'm rude when I speak to them because I always tell people, when I'm speaking to you, look at me. Right? And many times I stop and I say, did you hear what I said? Did you say, yeah, of course. So repeat what I just said. And people think it's rude, but what you find out is that people, as you said, when people look at you, they cannot think about something else, something very difficult. They think about what you're saying. So by insisting, the natural behavior. But if you insist, they look at you when you say something to them, so then at least you solicit a reaction to what you're saying, not a reaction to something else that's on the wall. The second thing is you need affirmation that indeed the words reached the other side. And that's the hardest part, especially in lecture settings, that one talks and nobody else responds. You cannot tell they are sleeping, they are hungry, they want to go home, they are bored.
Right.
You cannot tell. So you need this interaction. So I will not let anybody, when I speak to people, I don't let them so-called go elsewhere. And when they do, I find myself sometimes simply shutting up and waiting for them to realize I'm no longer talking. That's rather awkward.
Now, very good. Now, apply that homework to your thinking.
I tell you what
That's
I do.
exactly what you need to do now.
What I do.
To tell someone else is difficult.
My exercise. You can look at my desk, it's full of notes that I'm taking. And I'm looking at them and says, what did I just say? I cannot remember. Take the whole thing and throw it to the garbage. I take the page and start again. And until I reach the point that my notes or my writings, my thinking distills into very few
Very good.
core ideas, and everything else is noise.
This is Bina. That's Chokhmah Bina. That's building on the concept. That's Chokhmah Bina and Das that we learned. That's Bina. I made these copies of different summaries of chapter 3 and also chapter 42, which elaborates on this thing of Das. I thought, but we'll have time today to go over it. But I went on with elaboration. So we have two choices: either read it yourselves, and we move on next week to chapter 4, or actually, what I think, because of the importance of this key element, I think next week we'll read through it again, spend one more week on this topic, and then we'll continue. Number one. Number two, one more thing. You have a question? Okay.
What we discussed, that you can control the feelings of anger with your brain, is that all to do with concentration? In other words, how do you train your brain to control those feelings? By reading repetitions, things, by prayer? How do you get that control, that your brain controls your emotions?
How do you get to exercising? By exercising.
Right.
That's how you get there.
So the exercise is what? To pray?
You remember the days when we were punished in school by going home and writing 100 times, I will listen to my teacher,
Yes.
I will do my homework, and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting.
What does he speak about
Now,
all the time?
what? What?
What do you speak about me all the time?
So that homework, that punishment, today it's very easy to do. Today you create a program that redoes it, that you say 100 times this, and it will copy it 100 times, and it's done in a minute. But in those days it was very difficult to do. What was the purpose of it?
Okay, if I say to myself,
Other than the teacher having a good time by giving a punishment.
the purpose is that if I say to myself, don't get angry, it doesn't help. That's not.
But
the
when you
purpose.
write it 100 times, it goes in there.
When I write it,
Memorize this
okay.
text. Read this text 101 times until you'll know it, and think and memorize it in your mind every day before going to sleep. And when waking up in the morning, you'll see how your life will change within a very short period of time. The most difficult thing for me to do is this. And I'm a very big chassid. And I'm the shliach of the Rebbe in Alberta. And very difficult for me to take those 5 minutes and to concentrate. That's my biggest challenge in life. And if I could make my commitment to my wife on our 32nd anniversary that this is what I'm going to do over the next year, she will be the happiest, the luckiest woman on earth if I will be able to get it done. I don't know about anyone else, but that's my biggest challenge. Disciplining myself to getting it done. Disciplining myself to exercising.
Yes.
Very simple. Very simple. What?
What kind of exercising?
General and this. Yeah. Yes. One more question, and then we need to discuss something about the summer. Yes.
So while we're training our mind to be more focused, when I'm recalling this class, when I leave the room, if I have to resort to writing a few points, what do you think?
Good. Because that's a tool that will help you concentrate. Ideally would be just to remember the whole hour. But you won't get there if you're an ordinary human being like the people that I know in this world. You won't get there. So fine, sit down for an hour, sit down for 10 minutes and write down what was taught, and then go over it a few times, and not with your notes. The notes leave for 3 weeks from now. For 3 weeks, all you should do is, what did we learn today? What did the Alter Rebbe tell me? And if you need these notes, take them. And take it from there, and then either rewrite the notes 10 times or reread the notes 10 times until, and that's a good way to start. And results will be achieved based on how much we put in. Very simple. As much homework as we put in, that's how much result as we will see. If we won't put in any homework, is it a waste of time? No, because at least now for an hour we were contemplating and discussing something. It's good. The Alter Rebbe refers to it at the end of chapter 3, Dimyonot Shav, that it's false imaginations. Amen. Let us have false imaginations. Halavai, we should have false imaginations of love and fear of God. And let's start with that. It's good to imitate the good people. Let's start with that. That's not hypocrisy. It's a good thing to do. Let's start acting, playing. Again, kids, babies. They play. Yesterday, and I was sitting saying Tehillim outside. Our little granddaughter Musia is playing with a car. First, she took her baby in the car. Then she decided that the baby is going to stay with Zedi because she has to go shopping. And she put the baby on the chair next to me. She went into the car and she started driving her little car. And then she goes out of the car and she walks. And I see her. She's walking. She's all excited. And she walks and she's taking something from somewhere, going back to the car, putting it in the trunk, and saying, I forgot, and I had to go back to take something to put it in the trunk in the car. Went back to the car and drove. She was in her world, imagination. And guess what? That's education. She's training herself. She's learning how to drive a car and how to forget things and how to go back to take and how to train a child to wait. It's life. Let's start with imagination. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to talk ourselves into that we are successful. Good. Very good. Amen.
Just say dream the future.
Exactly. Dream the future. Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, in Hebrew school today,